Welcome to Wisecast. This podcast was created and fully funded by Wise Option with the intention to provide helpful information to our users via an informal conversational video podcast. This video podcast does not receive funds from third-party sponsorship or otherwise outside donations. It only represents our personal opinions. We want to share with you our experiences, and it should not be taken as personal, business, medical, or veterinary advice. We do not disclose any of our clients' data or personal information and respect our clients' privacy. This is a conversation between us and our users, but includes information we feel may be helpful to all in the horse industry. If you are not yet a Wise Option user, please tune in and let us know what you think. Tune in while working on paperwork or on the drive home. Even though this is a video podcast, it was designed to be listened to without the video as well. So while driving, please keep your eyes on the road and save your questions for when you reach your destination. If you would like to leave a comment, please go to the Wise Option discussion group on Facebook, where there will be a designated post for the podcast. So, let's get started.
Hi, Eduardo. How are you?
Hello, Rachel. Hello. Good afternoon. How are you there?
Doing good. Getting a little toasty, but nothing a little bit of the exercise and fans can't fix.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. I think today we're going to have great information for our crowd here. We're going to have interesting data. And today is May 7th, and it's a beautiful day here in Texas. Also getting toasted here, but it's sunny and beautiful. And we're going to be talking about implementing the real paperless stuff, with paperless logistics and actions for equine practices. Tell us a little bit about our guest today, Rachel, please.
I'm really excited today. We have Allison Dawson, who is the practice manager at Royal Vista Southwest, and she has so graciously taken some time out of her day to come talk with us today. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get her on and ready. Hi, Allison. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing good. Keep it up.
Thank you for the time for us here.
You are welcome.
So how's your day been so far? How's breeding season treating you guys?
It's so good this year. I'm thankful with a bunch of unknowns in our world right now.
Yeah.
We've seen some record-setting years still in some areas, so we're doing great. I feel like we've flattened the curve. Is that a thing to say? We're on the downhill, maybe, as far as numbers. So that's good for me and staff, and we're ready to be able to take a little bit of a breather with the volume that we do and all. But it's been really good, and things are good. And since we're on the Wise Option podcast, we've seen some crazy good improvements that have made life more efficient and really allowed us to accomplish more work in the same amount of time and still get people out the door on time and things like that. So this year's been a good year.
Well, good. Well, we're always really glad to hear that. And like I said, like Eduardo said, thank you so much for, joining us today. We really appreciate it. We know that this is the thick of breeding season. So thank you again.
You bet.
Yeah. So I know you work out at Royal Vista. How long have you been there for?
This is my 15th breeding season.
Wow.
My
Awesome.
dad, Dr. Bailey, is one of the founding partners. So I've, let's say, helped a lot longer before I actually was an employee.
Of course.
So
yes.
15 years in the book. So it seems like forever.
Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of experience down that line.
A lot of changes, Eduardo.
Yes.
I remember the pre-Wise Option days, which I don't want to go back to. I'm not saying that.
Yes.
For a long time, we did a bunch of paper and computer at the same time until we gained the trust, right?
Yeah. We had two techs doing the same job. One kept the book and one kept the computer because they didn't trust you. And after a while, we went, this is silly. It's working. Let's just stop. So, yeah.
But computers, and software, it's a relationship of time and gaining the trust, and of course, I really like when I see vets going there and clicking, and the next day, let me see if the mare was really rescheduled. Let me see if because it's a natural fear, you just leave the horse having a good life up there, and it's a serious business. So,
well, if we can let a mare fall off of a written calendar, surely the computer can let her fall off of but even like some of the texts and stuff that I have, we have a process where we check just to make sure everybody that is active here is still on the calendar and all. But it's like, if a mare fell off or something, I always tell the vets, I'm like, well, it takes effort to make that happen. You know what I mean? It's not, it really, you have to try a little harder to mess up. Which thankfully, but I think over the years have tried to implement enough safety measures. Are you really sure you want to do that kind of things? And, it leads you in the right direction.
We had a very good example that I was helping Rachel here to debug a situation where we were not very clear. Debug is not a quite word. Figure it out, because it was not a bug. And figure it out, but a wise option after, so many years have become kind of a little teller. It's a very good tool for you to do some auditing work. And, it's not that we are trying to point fingers, but it's good to, have accountability. And when we create a system that has accountability, all those professionals involved in the process will be more careful and have more attention before just, easy click and say yes without thinking about it. I have one question for you, because you mentioned 15 years using, helping Royal Vista Southwest organizing the records and be behind all the craziness and, giving some sense to this huge spider web of information crossing, because you receive embryos from everywhere. You have donors on site, you flush yourself, you receive flushes from different sources. And today, one of the ideas I'd like to give to our audience is primarily, the sense of how to make things work. Because it's countless the number of times I visited places that they think they have a paperless concept, but they don't. They simply have the computer as one more step. They do everything on paper and have somebody, just because they're sending statements to their clients, their customers in a digital format, doesn't mean that they're doing actual thing. In these 15 years, my first question to you, Allison, would be, how would you break the stages for you to get to the, because today I can tell our audience, you guys are one of those that make us really proud, because you really implemented the paperless situation almost thoroughly. So what would be the phase in this 15 years, if you could kind of create little eras in this process? How would you divide it?
Well, we still have some paperwork. The transfer log, embryo transfer log, will never not exist. Handwritten log. It's a safety check. It's if a tornado came and we have no access to anything, we have a paper. Well, provided the paper book is still there, we know information if we have to, but it's the one kind of thing that even in the beginning, we decided we would never give up. However, mare records, we had, several thick binders of mare records that, well, do you put them in name of the mare? Do you put them in neck band number? Do you put them in what order? Then you have your veterinarian trying to talk to a client about several horses who, they most likely are in neck band order because that's how you see them in the morning, but the vets may not know the neck band, so now they're fumbling. And does that make it look like they're maybe not as competent to a client? Where on the other extreme of things, you have one client listed in Wise Option with all their mares there, all their information, and we sound like geniuses. And while my vets are really good at what they do, they don't know all their horses, but they sound like they do, which is huge. To change from the book, I said, we were double entering everything. And I said this year, which I think it was 2008. And I said this year, let's keep both, but don't use the book. Don't go look at it. It was the vets that we really had to wean from it. And, everybody likes change, right? So, no. So we kept the book. We kept records in the mare cards. And then put it on the shelf. And after a few months, they thought they were okay. And then at the end of the year, I said, do you want us to keep doing this or not? And they hadn't used it once, and there is a huge amount of training, especially in veterinarians. And for vets watching this, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that the part of your job that you are really responsible for and have an in-depth knowledge about and all is generally not record keeping. That's what we do. But you need to be able to have the records at your fingertips, whether it's paper or computer. But to train on the computer and all, and certainly I can do things at a different pace than Dr. Bailey or Dr. Coy, but then
I think we are experiencing some difficulties with Allison.
Thanks, her.
Yeah, I think she was probably disconnected or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wait a few seconds. She might be connected again. But I see what she's saying. It's, it took a few years for the doctors. I don't remember that very well on the binders. The binders were done. And I think they're breaking up a little bit, Allison. I'll see if you can redo your.
Right there?
There we go.
Sorry. I couldn't tell. Right. I lost you.
Yeah.
Making the veterinarians feel comfortable in changing to a new format, realizing that they're already talking to customers who are either getting good news or not so good news, but trying to find out information that's going to affect how they make their decisions for their program, and being able to convey that to the client in a intelligent and all-encompassing manner, while having them on a new format that they're maybe not as familiar with, is a big trade-off. And so lots of training went into it, lots of kind of standing over their shoulder. And it does take one that is willing to learn and wants to go into and, explore the new thing. But the biggest selling point was all the advantages that come with putting it in a computer versus a paper notebook, right? And having the office accessible, having whenever you put it into the record, you're creating your invoices, whether you like it or not, kind of. You're creating your breeding records, whether you like it or not. It's doing all the things for you. You're just maintaining a record, but it's doing all the other stuff that you need at the end of the year or at the end of the month or whatever. And so that has been a big one, getting rid of the mare book and kind of transferring all of our palpations and breeding information over. We also I don't have it. We also, was it last year that we used the semen order board for the first time? It was this season. We used to have a pad of paper that we would fill out with the information on it. It kind of looks something like this. And this is our courier pad, but the semen order pad was something that would be filled out at the stocks so that you could jot down everything and have all the information correct and hand that off to somebody who could then order, and you could keep going, right? We have a lot of volume. We have to keep going. It was time consuming for the tech to have to fill out all the other information because we're recording an owner, the mare, the stallion, where the stallion lives, when we want it sent to us, what day we're going to breed her, when they collect. Is it an embryo transfer? Is it a carry? Is it to freeze? So there's a lot of information to write down. It was very time consuming. Eduardo said we could do better, and I had my doubts, but we did. And then when I was kind of pitching this to the doctors about the new plan, they said, well, let's just have her do the semen order pad also. No, that defeats the whole purpose. I mean, go with me on this, I promise. So anyway, things like that have been a big thing, because now, unless the mare is standing in front of the stocks waiting on confirmation to get an ovulatory agent, we're doing it within 5 minutes. It auto refreshes on the tech that is ordering screen. We don't even have to make phone calls to each other internally anymore. It shows up. The girls outside see it on the board when it's been confirmed. I mean, everybody's kind of looking at these digital whiteboards, and it's been phenomenal.
I hear you saying this, and I even get chills here, because it was such a, it's so rewarding to see putting all the pieces together. And I hear you saying that the vets were the ones that we had to sell the idea, and most of the most difficult part was to gain their trust. Then my question to you would be in regards to the technicians. I know that technicians hate doing paper and computer because it's an extra work, but for my question is more related to their trust. How would you consider how easy or how hard it is for the technicians to get on board on a new project like this?
It depends. So this change from 5 to 6 was pretty tough. To be quite frank, we had lots of tears. And it hurts me when they're upset and don't feel like they have the tools that they can do their job well, or we had some performance issues in the very beginning, right? And so it was slow and she wasn't really able to keep up, and she took it personal. Well, that's not her, and nobody else was blaming her. But, when you have somebody that's dedicated to their job, they're going to take those kind of things personal the same way that I do. If they have, they're upset, that makes me upset. So there were some tears, there were some trade-offs. The techs that came into it this year don't bother them at all. And there's been improvements to 6 a lot that makes it more efficient. It's becoming more user-friendly, more you can guess at the right answer, like 5 was a lot. And so the new people aren't having near as much trouble. And I really do think that it was just that initial transition to 6 when we still had some glitches, we still had some things to work out, kinks and that kind of thing. But overall, it seems to be working. Saying that let's struggle through this, I'm always the first one to raise my hand and want to try something. Let's struggle through this because I can see at the end it's going to make it easier. I can get you guys out of here earlier. You won't have to do as many forms. You won't, I promise this will be better for you on the end, or we wouldn't do it.
Right.
Yeah. In that sense, Allison, of course, I love the example you gave once. Everybody would love to have the I-35 with 6 lanes, but nobody liked the construction phase.
Yeah.
So moving from 5 to 6, it was a huge bump. So not only the learning process and breaking people's habits, I think that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
And you're confirming this just by saying that the new people, no problem, they didn't know how it was before, but to the muscle memory and how the system works, and of course natural glitches on the first 2 years. Now, if you compare the sailing to the first 2 years, we are having a breeze.
This should be version 8 by now or something compared to where we were 2 years ago on 6. No kidding.
Yeah, and the thing is that having that in mind, all this engagement with the several departments, just looking at the screen today, you have screens on your walls that update what technicians put in the computer and all this integration. My question to you is, how do you choose projects? What's your feeling? What is your radar to pick? We should get this one and try to make this section here paperless.
I generally can see where there's a bottleneck, or if the girls come in and say they've got all this stuff to keep up on or move forward on, or they weren't able to finish it outside, things like that. And form letters were a big one. We used to send every single person a paper form letter. We still use the form letters, but we sent paper ones for their pregnancy results. Yeah, you have an 11-day pregnancy, or we're sorry to inform you that, the recip didn't take, those kind of things. Now those are all through email, which is huge because they can do it at the stocks most of the time when they're waiting on the next horse, And so there's a lot of things. There is time waiting on horses, so they can accomplish a lot of those goals while they're sitting back there. Now, they still have a worksheet to fill out to make sure that they did all those things because they might forget something, but, having them be able to do that. But like the semen order board, and a lot of it has come from you, Eduardo, why do you have that road up there and in here and over there? And, what do you do when this happens? And so all of the places that we write down stuff or write them on whiteboards are for a reason. When you breed a mare and she falls off the list and then she doesn't get palped for an ovulation, and then, that's why we have a breeder board that we write mares up on and cross them off when they've been bred and erase them when they ovulate. there's a reason that all these things exist. You just have to see where the bottleneck is. And so the seaman order thing was huge. Well, we realized as soon as we implemented the seaman order board that we were using the little yellow slips to call our courier. Well, when our little yellow slips went away, now we needed something new. And so
just for our audience, could you, in a very short, summarize what the seaman order board is?
Sure. So whenever we want to order semen, from the summary card on the donor mayor's page, there's a plus, and we click that and tell it the same things that we wanted before. So your stallion, your mare, your owner, and your owner can be different than the owner of the mare at the time, right? Because people like to buy embryos and syndicates and things like that. So you tell it that information when the stallion collects, when you want it delivered, when you want a breeder, because those dates may be different. How you want it. Do you want to fly it, FedEx, UPS, courier? Who's going to be the courier? You can enter in FedEx information as far as tracking numbers when they call you with that. And then once you put that in, now you can make adjustments to whether it's been confirmed, whether it's been like we left a message, whether they have to call us back because they don't have a contract yet, whether we were denied. Yeah, any of that. Who you talk to, if you have to call tomorrow. And then based on even if it says a courier or if it's a fly, it automatically puts in the courier log because it knows someone has to go get it. Unless it's a FedEx, it goes in the courier log, which is amazing because that's one of the places that I was very concerned that the ball was going to get dropped. I mean, it's an active step that you have to do to make sure you contact a courier. Well, now it sits up there with this little yellow flashing warning sign that says you need to do something about this. And that's helped hugely.
And I call this project Megan's baby. Because, Megan was the first one, one of your senior technicians there. And another thing that I could suggest to our audience, if you're planning to do any kind of project, regardless if it's computer related or so, I personally think it's way easier for me when I grab somebody within the organization and make that person the, what is the term? Not responsible, but the parenthood. They have to have some sort of stakes.
They take ownership in it and it becomes personal.
Exactly. So anything that you do in the company, and here I would extend to any kind of project, not necessarily computer.
It doesn't matter whether it's a report about pregnancy rates or anything. They take those kind of things personal.
Yes, and now instead of criticism or resistance, you get somebody pushing the project ahead. Yeah. You get somebody. So as much as I can, I always like to involve all the members of the organization within the projects. And often people will come in, Arthur, you're a genius. How could you make this? And I say this in such honest way. Yeah. If there's something I would say I am good at, it's good listener. I try to be a good listener, but all these ideas come from you guys. Yeah. And I'm so curious, to hear how, things grow. Today, I see Megan, and she looks at that board with such a pride. That makes me,
And it even changes response to problems. So, you think 2 years ago where the split screen wasn't working quite right, that you and I had kind of developed together and all. And it's like, I would hear a comment like, well, it's not doing this, Whereas if there's a comment in the semen order side of things, it's, well, can you see if he can make it do this? It's because she didn't write it in the code or she didn't ask you to do that. And so it's a different sort of mentality. And that is a really good, even now we're working on the art module a lot right now. And the girls that enter in those things, I'm asking their opinion. I have a meeting with Eduardo at 10. Anything else besides these you guys want, you see, and having them in the process of making things better for them is very empowering. And it does get them on board. And I think it makes people a little more tolerant of delays and updates or things like that, because we're working on stuff for you, and I do think that helps a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
I do have to say though, back to the semen order thing, that's just the first part. I kind of forgot the whole point of it. It goes on the board. When semen comes, you can right click on a line and arrive the semen, right click on it and analyze the semen. That all goes to the mayor record. And I actually have vets doing that now. I'm so excited. It's been great. Which is what I was really scared of because they generally unpack a lot. And I thought, I did tell Eduardo, this has to be easy and simple enough to be done quickly by anybody that's around. And it is. And they are doing it. And I love it.
Well, next coming is to do that on the mobile web.
So excited.
Yes. But the thing that, also strikes to me is the old terminology, using our users as guinea pigs versus mentorship.
Yeah.
Several, there's this stigma about software company using their clients as guinea pigs. And I like the word mentorship because we're here just to do what suits you guys, what makes your life easier.
Yeah.
And one thing that I notice is that this switch is happening a little because more and more people, we have basically two types of user. Your situation is very clear. You like to be a guinea pig, which I call mentor.
Yeah.
Because you guys realized that by being the first on certain projects, yes, you're going to have to leave with certain glitches and adjustments, version 1, version 2, until you maybe version 4 or 5, we're going to get to the final product. But it takes the shape and look how you like it.
Yep.
So some people...
That was my biggest selling point going to 6. Yes. It'll look like what we want.
Exactly. So this is the whole idea, Now, what would be your comment if you have to be exposed today to a system that is static? And how do you see static, not dynamic as what's option in constant move? Would you prefer a system that is already prepared? Because I don't know, it seems that you still have plenty of ideas for us.
Well, seeing as that the horse business doesn't change at all, I think static's probably fine. The horse business, y'all, the new technology that we have, especially in the reproduction side of things, I mean, it's ever changing, right? And so to have a software system that will continue to change with the business is crucial. Now, whether you're on the front lines of that and want to have a say in how it looks, that's to each their own. I think we're brought in. We were one of the first 3 farms that you came to, and so we got to have the blueprint for a lot of things. I remember you saying, well, why do you put that there? Why do you put that there? What goes there? And I remember one of the very first reports was about colors of horses and pastures. And I thought, well, that's about the last thing I care about. But you're not a horse guy, right? You are now. But so there was a lot of that baby program stuff that we had to go through. But from that, I saw that this program was tailor-made for us because we were the only ones talking. Well, now as things have evolved all these years later, you and I even have conversations about, other farms and how they might do things. And now we always look at things with making it to where they can have it their way. And so it really is becoming an option, or the whole crux of Wise option is that you can make it look like your place. It doesn't have to look like Royal Vista because nobody else is like Royal Vista. It needs to work for you. And so the settings have been there, whether they're in tools and options and you set them for mass, or whether you set them for individual user, or things like that. You really have done a great job in allowing it to be customizable without buying a custom program, which is essentially unheard of. And so I hats off to you for, making it a broad, available and useful to such a broad audience in the horse business, which seems small, but there's so many facets of it that are always changing. You have to be able to go with the flow.
That's so true. Another question that I have for you, Allison. I recently visit. It was actually not so recent. It was back in September. I went to a summit in Montana. It was organized by Innova, which is a company. Uh, the CEO there is Kirk. I'm going to try to have Kirk here sometime in the future. I think that guy is just brilliant with his ideas and his mind on how to manage business. And in this summit, they were discussing about the number of procedures and charges that are performed and simply not charged. So my guess is they did this little contest there, and people would raise their hand and guess. My guess was 17%, which I thought it was pretty high. Some people were 2%, 5%, and the doctors did actually study, and it was like 30% of these certain cases not charged. Did you notice any improvement as we go with this process? What is the easiness or the guarantee that charges are put in place in your practice today, taking account how it works in your scenario?
I think it's multifaceted because one, just the act of keeping records is building your procedures. Whether you charge for palpations, whether you charge for a drug, if you're going to record, of course, and we're mainly breeding. So if you're going to record that you gave a mare HCG or Deslorelin or Sucramate or whatever, by recording that you gave it, now you're creating an invoice. And so I think that's huge. The other thing is you've given us things like triggers and task links and things like that. So a trigger is, I usually tell people, when one event creates a lot of other events. So when a mare has a foal, we have a trigger set up for the rest of that foal's first year of life. And so whether they have leg exams or turnout checks or dewormings, vaccinations, whatever it is for the rest of while it's here, is set up in a trigger. Nobody can forget to schedule it. It's part of it, The same thing when a mare, if it's a brood mare that has a foal, she gets scheduled for, her post-foaling exam with maybe ibuprofen, but then she's also rescheduled for her first palpation if they want to rebreed her. It takes effort to mess that up. So triggers are huge for us. When a recip heart beats, we charge for the pregnancy fee, the purchase of the recip, and also schedule out all the vaccines she would need. And while we're doing that, if she's here, we're setting them as done and billing them. And if not, it's showing on a departure report, which is really nice to hand to the client to say, this is everything that your mare needs the rest of her pregnancy. I mean, it's kind of idiot-proof, right? The other way, which is kind of new, that we've been using maybe for a year or so, is task links. So one of the things we do is a hernia clamp. And so there are various drugs you can use for that, sedation, whether you have to sedate the mare, those kind of things. And in the procedure for that, it comes up as a hernia clamp, which has a charge on its own, but it also pops up another screen and said, did you do any of this other stuff too? And that may be, I've listed all of the tranquilizers that might happen, or any antibiotics, or any of the things that they might want to charge for. Somebody takes x-rays. Well, we can bill for the x-rays, but do they bill the sedation? Nope. So we've added in things like that doesn't make you do it, but it kind of reminds you. And it's one more screen that says, are you sure? And so I believe that we're seeing an improvement and a lot more charges being actually charged, and now we're not giving money away. It's not that we're doing anymore. It's just that we aren't forgetting to bill them. And so what he said about that is totally realistic. I mean, and I know that people have to know in the back of their mind that's happening too, whether or not they know their number or percentage or how actually bad it really is. But knowing that we forget to do things all the time. And so to go back to this, to have, big procedures that are big events that require multiple things, to use task links and triggers is huge.
I would like to make a statement, and I'd like to hear your comment on my statement. Wise Option today is considered a system extremely hard to set up, but very easy to use if set up right.
Mostly true, pretty true. Like on a scale of 1 to 5, like a 3.5. It is cumbersome. It's, you know, you and I have talked about this a lot. Our business is complex, which requires a complex solution. And so to get the backbone of that set up correctly to where you can use it in an efficient manner and have, you know, one of the nice things is you, generally speaking, you only have to set it up once, whether it's a new user and list settings for, you know, the procedure manager, or how you want your mayor record to look, things like that. What tasks you want to show on your mayor record that have to do with reproduction. Once you get that set up, it's a breeze. And I even struggled with, not too long ago, it dawned on me that I was creating these queries in Procedure Manager that helped me close books at the end of the month, and how to bill and to check things before I actually created statements. It must have been 6 months ago is all that I actually named these things, you know, number one, end of month and what it was, number two, end of month and what I don't know why it took me so long, but things like that, when it dawns on you how you can make these settings work for you. And some of that takes using the program to realize what it's capable of and how it can help you. But you guys are always there answering any questions that we have. I know the support team's been great with helping out users get to that spot. So yes, setting up can be cumbersome, difficult. I wouldn't recommend doing it in April, let's say. But when you have this, I know you bring all your data over on most every other scenario. The switch from 5 to 6 was a little cumbersome just because it's different, and there are so many other options that will be helpful. But once you get it set up, it's a breeze. I mean, it really is, and works more for you than you have to work at it, I think, is where 6 went with us.
I would like to pick on Rachel's brain a little bit next, because recently we experienced a situation. Now Rachel is getting more involved with the support and everything. I think one of the biggest problems that us providing support have faced here is when not even our users know very well what they want, how their businesses operate. Rachel recently had the chance to try an approach with one of our best clients in a certain way, and then you tried a different, right, Rachel, in a different way, because not even them knew very well what they want, especially talking about complex settings on the test links and how the hospitalization records work, and how the charges have to be placed. What would be your comments, Rachel, that could make life easier for the user? I think I'm already answering this, but I still would like to hear your comments. It's about having a notion on how they want their business to be charged, or how they want to, what's your take on this, please?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's hard, especially kind of like how Allison kind of touched on earlier about how, so many users do so many things a certain way for so many years. I mean, they've been in business for 5, 10, 15 years, and they have their one tech or their partner doctor, and they go through and they've got their 3 binders, and that's the way that they do things. I think it's hard then translating that into a software system, especially for those who maybe aren't naturally technologically inclined. They look at the software system and they look at their 3 binders and they say, but it doesn't look the same. And it's that kind of that first initial hill that you kind of have to get over looking at it. And, and it helps obviously talking with people like you and I, talking to people who can kind of help you visualize your business the same way, just translated into a software system, and say, I'll show you what your binder now looks like. Here's what your binder now looks like. And here's some tools that we can give you to make sure that you can have all the information you still want there. And the best part is, like Allison was saying, it builds it for you. You input the data, it builds your mayor records. You input the data, it builds your stallion breeding report. All your reports that you used to spend putting in those binders, putting in that file cabinet, it's on a computer now. And the best part of WISE Option 6, it's now on any computer you want it to be. You're not locked to your computer in the office. So I think it's that initial visualization. I think that's hard for a lot of people to visualize that change from, my binders to my computer. And this is it just looks different, but realizing that all your data is still there. And in fact, there's more now available to you in a much different views and varying, like Allison was saying, it's so customizable to how you want the reports, to how you want to even just look at the list. It'll really help you a lot, both communicate with your other employees and then also communicate with your clients, and upping that level of professionalism when you can present the information to a client in a clear, concise, professional manner.
I'm puzzled about how people could try, because sometimes how could try then answer those questions up front, because I think it's really hard. I don't know if it would be talking to their peers, talking to other practices, or simply by trying different approaches with the system, but it's really hard because oftentimes we see people here coming and just not trying to explore options. Like Rachel said, they get so used to it, and that gives, because they feel comfortable, seems to be the best way of doing things, and not trying to get out of the comfort zone.
I can speak to this on a personal level. Recently, looking at how I wanted to change tracking my personal finances and looking at the options out there, and they all look scary, and I don't know that I want to learn them. I don't know if it's right for me to invest my time in learning a new program that might not serve me any better than what I'm doing. And so I think that there's this huge unknown on the other side of it, where until you actually get in with your data and see what it's doing and access your stuff and see how, you take one mayor and follow her along, and that you actually can see all the information. We'll show you where the buttons are. There's shortcuts everywhere that all go the same place. Just depends on where you're at in the program. We'll get you there. Somebody has said, well, when I look at the summary card, I need to know if she has a recent pregnant. Great. We built a button for an ET log. So knowing that there's other farms that are using it and all, yes, there's a learning curve. It's change, and we all don't like that. But, one farm that's close to us called to ask if they should change. And I have to look this man across the table at Thanksgiving. So I needed, I didn't want to go, change, it'll be great, and him be really mad. But, to be upfront about it, there's a lot of setting up that needs to happen. And to go back to what you asked Rachel, if you think about setting up of what you want it to get, of what you want to get out of the program, it's much easier. So, for us personally, I need to know on our income, did it come from board, procedures, treatments, outside charges, farrier work, where we did that. So that's how I set up my categories. And that's how and realizing that mare management is great. And yes, embryo transfer is a part of that, but I also need to know how much we made in embryo transfer. So we've pulled that out. And so there's little things about how you want it to look at the end, even how you name your horses. You recently got me to change how we named our clients, and it was their name and a business name in the sort ID. And I thought, oh, they're not going to like that, or adding in the neckband number to be a part of their sort ID, which it does it for you. But I was resistant to that kind of change, and it's revolutionized how we do things here. But knowing what you want on the end of it, what do you want your daily worksheet to print out like or look like? Who are you giving it to? Do they need to know neckbands? Yeah, so then it probably needs to be in there. But to know how to set up things, when I have helped people in the past set up wise option or counsel them on things, I always say, well, what's your goal with this? And then let's work backwards. And so I find that that's really helpful to do it. And I would be hard pressed to find a situation that this wasn't a solution for, given an effort.
The thing about people not liking change, it's a stigma that holds several. We have cases already notorious in our industry that they are so scared of change, but so scared that they keep doing things in a very old-fashioned, just of not taking the leap of faith, even after having so many hundreds of clients and users going through the process. Usually, I say that goes in 4 phases, right? Phase number 1 is, oh no, I'm too scared of doing this, should not, I don't want to go there. When they see that's really possible, phase number 2 is that they make the leap of faith and they go for a change, likewise option or any other project, and they will say, oh my God, what have I done?
Gotta go back.
We're really in the middle of the implementation phase. It's, really crazy. Phase number 3, it's the phase like, why haven't I done this before? It's so often. I would say 99% of the cases we have it's like that. And phase number 4, which is to me the most interesting one, when people realize how technology can help and decrease the number of hours and everybody can go home 6 o'clock, then they start, Eduardo, can you also do this? Can you also do that? That's when the wish list starts coming. Small projects, would you say, are in the same kind of concept line?
What?
When you grab internally some department is going to do, would you say, I'm under the impression that it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, the breeding log, it was kind of like, it was kind of working there, and there's still things that we have to figure out that are off-season stuff, like what do you do with 2 doses, rebreeding, that kind of thing. And we're still figuring out some of that. I didn't really use the term workaround until I used Wise Option. I mean, that's where we were putting things that didn't belong in the boarding log, and now it's the recurring log because it's useful for that, and you make little concessions that work for your business. But yeah, even the veterinarian saying, well, I don't know about this breeding log thing. And I'm thinking, I know this will work, and there is a place, even the art module right now. The art module works fine. The art module summary card's coming, and we've been working really hard, and it's like, I'm excited to go show them. And then you click on a link and it doesn't work and you get the error message and it's like, okay, but it's coming, And so new things will always have you can't test everything till you put it in a real scenario. And those
I
are
have to tell you this, not everybody's very tolerant to those error messages.
It depends on what the error is, right? If you get an error because you can't add a procedure, we're in trouble, and I'm calling.
I am telling you, there are people really freak out for example, sometimes a misspelling. Even that, you must have, we are very careful about choosing our mentors, not guinea pigs, because the person must have that tolerance about knowing the life cycle. Okay, we're going to get this error message now, but only with experience, by having, the back and forward. It's like playing ping pong. I throw the ball to you, the ball comes back. Once you have that feeling that it's a little hiccup here, new projects. And again, I'm not talking about only implementation of software. I think it goes for any kind of project management. You're going to have adjustments along the way.
For sure.
And most frequently people will say, oh, we are so better off now after going through this, that they look back and see how afraid they were of the change.
Right.
Actually, the fear became an opportunity cost, because was pushing them back to the opportunity to do things better in a better way, especially in a faster way, because today it's all about that. Let me switch gears a little bit here with you. I would like to talk to you about internet connection. How is your situation? How was your situation 2 years ago? How is your situation today? And how do you think it's going to be in the next 6 months to a year?
So we're pretty rural. I have resisted going to the cloud for how many years, Eduardo? I feel like 10.
I was really ready for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
You put me on the back burner.
Yeah, we have terrible internet. It's gone out during this podcast. To sell this, changing to an internet-based program, I had to come. If I was going to pitch the deal to our owners, I had to come with how we were going to make the internet connection work. We own, I think, 8 hotspots altogether that we purchased, little hotspots. And then we have a couple of tablets that have internet on them. All of the veterinarians' phones are paid for by Royal Vista, so we have those for internet, which can also be used as hotspots. I changed 2 of our phones from our primary provider to a secondary just in case their tower went down. I am all about backup. Yeah, because when it goes down, they come looking at me. I don't like that. So we've implemented a lot of that. Just whenever my feed went down not too long ago, I started getting on my phone to make my phone a hotspot because it works. So today it's much better. It's much more reliable. We do have one tablet that is only used for the main donor stocks. Nobody else touches it. I don't want them to throttle that data down if we get to the end of it at the month. That's all it's used for. And remote desktop, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't use a whole lot of data, right?
That's correct.
Nobody watches Netflix on that or streams anything. We don't do anything on that particular thing other than Wise Option. And so that's kind of a protection that I have for them. The nice thing that we've changed about going to the cloud is when I lose power, if we're on a laptop, I don't go down. We can keep going. Doesn't bother me. It's annoying because my phones go dead, but we have cell phones. I mean, things are changing a lot. Going forward, we were approached by a company to do fiber. It turned out they had our address wrong and we were all in for it, but it's going to cost us like 3 times as much, which was a lot. But it's coming. And so even for a rural community like us, it's in the next town. And so I envision within the next year or two having fiber and it being life-changing.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
But you have to
and I
be
believe you
creative,
still. Yes. I hear you say that you have your fixed landline plus 2 cellular
We have
carriers.
a line of sight satellite that's been really oversold and has way too many people on it. And so it's not very reliable. That's what I'm on right now. I can take a minute, for a few more seconds for a horse file to load. I don't want the stocks to have to wait on that. And so they get the kind of higher up, faster speed kind of things where the office usually hangs back on the slower stuff, only because after so many gigs, they throttle your speed, and I don't want to take that chance.
Gotcha. And in regards to this, now that you are in the cloud and you have gone through the phase of, the stigma and the fears over the internet system, you still maintain one company, IT company, that gives you support in your devices and connections local at work, correct?
Yes, we do, only because for us, we do have a network. I think we have 14 terminals. We have printers that need connected to everything. We do maintain a server only for shared documents, which we probably could have another computer act as a server, but they don't do very much anymore, which is really awesome. We buy a new computer. We used to have to go through a big long thing of installing Wise Option and all, and now it's remote desktop. I mean, it's super simple. And like Rachel said earlier, you can do it from anywhere. I can get on from my phone, my iPad, my husband's phone. Mom, can I borrow your computer for a minute while I'm here visiting? I need to get on. All the time. And so that's been a huge thing. Think of when you're at the sale and you're talking to your clients and is my mare bred? I don't know. Let me look that up real quick. Oh, yep, she's in full. It's nice to be able to have that kind of information at your fingertips.
So in other words, I would translate that some of the costs you had with your local infrastructure, although we have the cloud, which costs more, there's a little trade-off. Probably the cloud still costs a little bit more, but if you put on top of that the convenience and the mobility, totally pays off. Am I correct?
Features. The Wise Option 6 features are worth every penny of it for me.
Now that we are in the cloud and the cheese on top, we have the integrations. Because we are in the cloud, we are all now possible to have the digital wallets, no more being made easy. So you have all the credit card transactions in the system, and also things like other integrations, not only with credit card processors, but other integrations like Global Vet Link that is integrating. What's your experience with these integrations, and what kind of integrations you'd like to see coming next?
So the Global Vet Link thing has been amazing. Took a little bit of time to put in our horses because I think we had close to 1,000 to link. So that was slightly time consuming, but I only have to do that once. And then as part of the new arrival process, they link them to GVL. It takes 2 seconds. It's part of our process now. Coggins are stored on Wise Option, which is great. Have them handy all the time. We're moving forward, I think, in being able to sign things within Wise Option, do health certificates within Wise Option, which is, next level kind of stuff going forward. It's been huge. With getting this integration done and having all of the Coggins on the computer, we didn't have to print our Coggins this year, which again is close to 1,000 for all the recips that we have, that we send a Coggins home every time that we send a recip home. We didn't have to print that, which means I can't get them to bring them in order, so they're never in order. So there's a lot of sorting that goes on and filing and things, which we got to avoid. But in having that ability, I then lost the ability to check the papers against my horse list. Well, I talked to Eduardo about that, and he made us a query that I could see who didn't have a GVL test that was negative within the last, say, year. And we found like 5 or 6 that, they came through and maybe somebody failed to get blood, or I didn't have it, or I, didn't get entered. And so again, with the new technology and new implementation of things, you then realize that, well, yeah, but I was using that for this other thing. So now we have to address this other issue, which we've had a lot of. You don't realize how much things are related and such. So the GVL thing has been a game changer. If people use GVL and they're not linked, it's crazy. We're also a Coggins lab here, so I still log into GVL, sign tests, things like that, which the GVL folks are saying that things are coming to be able to stay within Wise Option, which would be amazing. But as far as other implementations, QuickBooks is coming, so I'm anxiously awaiting the, exporting things like where your income came from, which is what we normally do, is make journal entries in QuickBooks to document income. We actually close books like a real company at the end of every month. So I'm excited to see where that goes. You've been putting me on the back burner for that a while, because it is an off-season project. And because things are going so smoothly here, I don't have much things I'm struggling with. So I guess I'm looking for something new to challenge us.
And how about the credit card processing?
Oh my gosh, that's so much better. You have the liability of people, people's credit cards on hand. That is not something that you want. I know there's a lot of farms that keep them, and you really shouldn't. We have people that will decline credit cards after they've paid for their horse and then left and dispute them. So now you're left holding the bag. We offset that in the past by sending an email saying, do you authorize us to charge this amount to your card ending in whatever, which is okay, but not ideal. We can send them a link by clicking 2 buttons in Wise Option, sends them an email with a link to their account. They can see all their statement. They can see the invoices that make up their statement and where all the charges are coming from. And they can pay their bill right there. It's awesome.
Did it remove any sort of phone calls?
Did it what?
I mean, if the e-billing system, because the new e-billing system, customers have access to their entire life.
Yeah.
And did that decrease the number of phone calls from customers?
Yeah, we have a lot less people. We still have a handful of people that call and say, hey, can you run that card on file? Okay, fine. You can do this yourself, but they feel comfortable calling. That's great. Love to hear from your customers. But it's funny because we sent out bills Tuesday, I think, and had, a whole bunch of credit cards to run on Wednesday or to post to QuickBooks, because it automatically posts to Wise Option, which is really nice. They can see in real time that their payment was applied to their account, what their new balance is. It has changed the way that we do things a lot. And now to go forward, all the new customers are, we're requiring or really strongly requesting their email so we can send them a statement. There's no surprises. It also allows you to fix problems quicker, I think, than them actually going through a paper statement that they only have at their house in a certain spot, where maybe they have a break and can go through it on their phone when they have a chance.
Correct. Yeah, I really enjoy to see the way you use the credit card processing, especially because you do have that loop, running all the cards. So the system really, it's a money making machine.
And we do offer people, if they would like to pay at the end of the month, like auto pay at the end of the month when we run statements. There's a selection in there that you can say that customer requests his balance to be paid in full. And there's a part of the billing process that you go to and click, run all these cards, and it goes down one by one and tells you the transaction approval number and if it was declined or expired or whatever, and sends all your emails. And print one report, you're done.
Yeah, we are getting to the hour already. I have just a couple of more questions here for you, and we can wrap it up. In regards to your implementation, and now we are going more and more to the mobile app, what would be your 3 desired new features you'd like to see in the mobile app?
All right, I'm so excited. Are you sure you want that? Pictures. We need to be able to upload pictures from the phone camera. Everybody's got a phone on them. We take a lot of pictures of new arrivals, babies, all that stuff for ID. Pictures. We have started using the udder check module on phones, which is part of the mobile app. So our interns or techs at night will go through and has a list, kind of pre-generated list of all the mayors. We'll go through and guys the udder, fill any kind of things that has notes that we wanted the mayor. And that's been a huge thing.
Yeah, I think her internet is going down again. Yeah, Allison, I think your connection is breaking again. I promise it's not on our end because it was right at the moment I asked for the wish list. But it cut you when you were talking about the order check. What is if you could repeat one more time for us, what is the moment and the type of change you'd like to do in the order check module?
The udder check module is great. They're using it, and it's them also a permanent record in that mayor's file. That's great, but we use that as part of the mobile app. Have to do with texting people, or is that more the communication?
Yeah, communication module is already in process, and the texting should be coming. We should be able to. Yeah, the communication module. So just everybody knows it's a big module. It's going to encompass several pieces where you're going to have the history, all emails you sent through Wise Option, so you can track back all. So you're going to be able. Right now, we have to BCC ourselves in the communication module. It's going to be in the history box, so you will be able to see that. You're going to be able to send text messages. You're going to be able to receive notifications on your phone and your Apple Watch if you have the calendar appointments and stuff like that. And yes, pictures, I'm going to add that for sure. You can count on that because we know that not only pictures, but also those doctors working with lameness exam, they like to, record a short video before and after, that type of thing. Acupuncture, rehab centers and stuff like that, post-surgery, or pre-purchase exam reports and stuff like that. All those need some sort of digital imaging, and we're gonna provide. I see the benefit of that, so you can count on the images for sure coming in the short term. And where was I? In the mobile app, the communication module is going to be also allowing all the Wise Option users to talk to each other. So you can talk to your text through, but also you can talk to other Wise Option users. So you're going to be able to text and have chats. So all trying to shorten and decrease the number of phone calls. That's what we are planning to go with this. Text message, I think everybody's addicted to SMS today. I don't see a way for us to skip that part. Text message.
Well, and even not just to text out to something, but the ability to have them respond and Wise Option keep track of what their answer was or their response or and then alert you. I was big on it when we did the courier board because I would love to be able to, from that entry, text my courier the information. Currently, I take a picture of the computer and text it, which is fine. But to click a button, to text them, to notify them to respond, I got it, and it be marked as confirmed in the courier thing. Wow, that'd be huge.
Yeah, I think that's it. Allison, thank you so much for
Thank you.
taking your time, and coming and sharing with us. I'm looking forward to the years to come and see what new projects you're going to bring to us. I'm curious, and we are here for you.
You have been, and everybody that has anything to do with Wise Option that's seen me on any of part of it, I am an advocate. I am a passionate advocate of Wise Option because of how it has changed this business. There's no way that we could do the volume that we had and be stuck where we were 10 years ago, 14 years ago. It is huge. And the ability for you to take our needs, morph that into something even better than what we thought we wanted. You have a knack of doing that, but when we have a glitch and fixing it immediately, being there when something doesn't go right, even if it doesn't have anything to do with Wise Option and it's, local hardware problems, having some direction and all. I mean, you really have taken care of us for a long, long time. I don't know how we would do what we do without you guys. So big thanks to you.
Thank you. All right. So today we had Allison Dawson now. Yeah. My regards to Clay. Say hi for us.
I will.
And, this was another edition of the Wisecast. Rachel, thank you so much for being with us. It's with you.
Of course. Well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you everyone who listened in, and we so appreciate that. And again, thank you, of course, to Allison for taking time out of the heck that is breeding season every day to come and talk with us. We really do appreciate that. So everyone just tune back in on Facebook, and we'll get this posted as soon as we can, and we'll let you know when our next one's coming. Everyone have a wonderful day and stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.